held up the bill, now stop holding up the money. You said no strings attached. Instead, you played on the people's heartstrings. Where's it at? See, Governor Newsom, even at the French Laundry, if it don't come out in the wash, it's sure enough gonna come out in the rinse, and the rinse cycle is here. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Working class musician. 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 Working class. Working class. Working class. Working class. Though it be a labor of love, a labor it is. Working the night shift, mills of music venues, clubs and bars. Farmers of feelings, trumpet trigger fingers, grappling brass valves, prodding, pressing, deafened by the rattling roar in ahead. Toiled by a tired heart, resting between the swinging rounds of rhythms. Bless the drummer's hands. Trolleying a kid on the subway in the snow. The keys player's fingers homesick for cityscapes. Maraca wrists, clap stack, duct-taped instruments. The message as the medium. Everything is practice for stopping bullets, blossoming heartbeats, freedom music. While the Republicans and the Democracies argue the complexion of money, we float between classes and corners, from caviar to canned beans. E minor is a relative of G major. They family. In sound check, we split the difference. Just a tad of reverb, EQ the wedge. Living upright in the basement, a backwards world music that wrinkles time. Reporting live from the poet's eye. Hand-me-down sounds found by an ear to the underground. Shedding off-the-cuff poems on napkins using hotel pens. A language in my mouth. Juggling rotten wisdom teeth. Fluorescent folks singing the scab of running scales, a sore throat at the merch table, selling seashells that carry the sound of slave ships docked by the seashore. When your address is your suitcase, the only religion is the show must go on. I want my bread and my roses too.
Yes, indeed. She's a Grammy-nominated poet, a musician, a working class one at that. She is an activist and so much more. Aja Monet, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome to this poet-friendly environment.
I'm so stoked. I'm like a big poet nerd, so talking to you, I'm just like, like I said, I want to ask you questions, so
Oh, well,
I'm
you
gonna
know.
have to keep them.
I'm so glad to have you here. And you know, one thing I didn't share, I mean, you're associated with the New Eurekan Poets Cafe, which, of course, both of my parents have performed at.
Yeah.
And which is where I first got on the microphone.
Really?
When I was like 13, which was a really, really, really long time ago. Rapping.
Well, you look great.
Thank you. Rapping. Because the New Eurekan Poets Cafe, back then it was Miguel Algarin and Miguel Piñero was still there.
Yeah.
And they used to have open mics.
Yeah. Babito used to run one. Babito Garcia used to run like a words and hip hop open mic. Yeah. So I think a lot of folks came up through that space.
How did you connect with New Eurekan? Because I know you performed there and you won a big contest there as the youngest poet ever.
Yeah, they still tell that one in my bio. It's really funny because it happened so long ago. But Yeah, I was a part of an organization called Urban Word NYC, which is a youth non-for-profit to provide performance opportunities, open mics, workshops for young people in the schools. And through that organization, I learned about a lot of poets that were making careers out of their poetry, poets that were, performing and featuring in different venues and spaces. And then by virtue of being a part of this organization, you learn about all of these poetry venues that were existing at that time that were available to us to perform and, go sign up for an open mic. A lot of those venues no longer exist in the capacity that they did.
Yeah. So.
But it was a huge part of my upbringing, and it was such a, a blessing and a privilege now that I look back on it, because I was a part of a community, and it was palpable. Like you got to, test your chops and learn a lot about being a poet and reciting your poems in real time with people that you looked up to.
But clearly that's not where you started. You were already a full blown poet when you stepped on that stage. How did you choose that calling?
Yeah, I think so. When I first stepped on the stage, I was a burgeoning poet.
Okay.
I was still like, because the first time I won the New Yorican at 19, but I had performed, the first time I ever performed there was probably when I was 17, 18, like as a teenager, because the Urban Word NYC org used to do these competitions with poetry, which people know as slam. But those competitions would be hosted at different venues across the city. And so New Yorican was one of the places that we got to be at. But the first real place that I ever remember performing at, which you may know of, was St. Mark's Church.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at the Poetry Project. And so that was like when I was 17 or 16. I think I was 17, was my first real public performance. And I was terrified, nerves and just so anxious. But it was so exciting because I got immersed in this world that I didn't know existed before that. I just did poems to myself, and I won a little poetry contest at a talent show with my poem. And a friend told me about this organization. And then I went to that competition, and I realized that there were city kids all across the city, that all across all the 5 boroughs, that were obsessed with poems and were doing and reciting poetry. And it was really hip then, it's like,
yeah,
it's like poetry's kind of a little dull now, but then it was like really cool. Like all the cats that were doing, DJing or doing hip hop, etc. They were all at at the open mics, at the poetry competitions, and either they were mentors or they were affiliated with the organization or teaching. So I remember seeing like these cats that were just like, my mind was blown. I was like, oh my God, one day I want to be like them. And I lost that competition, actually, that first one. I made it to semifinals, but I didn't make it to finals. And then because I was so enamored with everybody, I was just like, how can I be involved? Where can I go to like be around you guys? Like I just wanted to learn. And then they told me about workshops, and I started going to these workshops, these weekly workshops. And then that's when a whole other world. I met your father that way, actually, through those workshops. And then I went off to college and all this stuff. So I was very much just a very excited kid about poetry. Anything poetry, I was gonna run to be there.
I mean, I feel like it goes in cycles, just like hip hop. We go in cycles of it being exciting and being more corporate, or being more attention and less attention, and more innovation and less innovation.
Yeah, I think culture is always true. Like even if the world is not paying attention, there's always an undercurrent of society that is tapped into, because they don't have a choice. It's for survival. You know what I mean? So most people that come to art are coming to art because of some sort of obsession or some sort of possession with this craft. And it's something that you're doing to kind of get through or get by or process what's going on. And so you realize that like there's always an undercurrent of a community and a culture that's existing, and maybe sometimes mainstream taps in and taps out of that, but that's usually because of advocates or people who are, you know, privy to those worlds and say, this is actually really dope and fascinating. How do we get the rest of the world to see this? Or how do we exploit it? You know what I mean?
Right. How do we co-opt it, exploit it, or ignore
because it's becoming too powerful.
Alternately, yeah.
Yeah.
Which came first for you, the activism or the poetry, or are they inseparable?
Well, I always try to steer away from the term activism.
Okay.
Usually people throw it on me because I care about issues, you know, which is just so ridiculous. But I think that's why I try to resist it, because I feel like, yes, I've been involved in things that I care about, but that's because I don't understand how you can be a feeling sentient being and not be concerned with like your environment, you know, or the price of eggs, or, you know, like the reality of what's impacting us on a day-to-day basis. Those are just, to me, natural factors of our lives. So when you realize that people are being mistreated, or there's some sort of injustice, or people not being taken care of, it's less about like, I'm going to be an activist. It's more like, this is crazy. Why is this set up like this? Who set this up like this? Mm-hmm. Are we going to do something about this or what? You know? And I think I refer to Wole Soyinka phrasing or quote when he kind of said that, you know, he sees everybody looks at the work he does and they're like, oh my God, you know, he was in prison, he's an activist, etc. And he's like, but in all honesty, I'm actually pretty selfish. You know, I just want to be at peace. You know, I want to sit in my house and relax and read my books and, you know, pour my tea and watch my shows, whatever it may be, and love the people I love and grow my plants. But I walk outside and there's a war going on, and it keeps me from peace, you know? So I think part of that is where the inclination of being like, can we set things up a bit better? Like, we got a lot that we could do, you know, there's a lot we can do to take care of each other. Why are we strategically not doing that? It seems intentional. And so when you start asking questions, people start calling you an activist, but really you're just a sentient feeling being, you know, with a lot of love in your heart that just wants the world to be a little better, you know.
Poet Aja Monet, poet and sentient being Aja Monet is here.
Yeah.
And you're listening to KBLA, Talk 1580.
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions, this is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day.
As a fitness coach, my active psoriatic arthritis can slow me down. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, I'm treating my skin and joint symptoms so I can keep moving. Skyrizi, a prescription-only injection for adults, helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And for those who have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible. With Skyrizi, there's no daily dosing. It's just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement. And that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr. $2.5 billion. Governor Gavin Newsom said it was there for fire survivors in Altadena and the Palisades. No strings attached. That was the promise. But the burning question is, where's it at? 18 months later, an NBC4 investigation came back with the numbers. The numbers don't answer the question, they deepen it. Where's it at? About $605 million has been spent, roughly 75% still not released. Where's it at? Roughly $14 million went to CHP overtime and ICE immigration protest response for crowd control. Not rebuilding homes, not rebuilding lives, but crowd control. Where's it at? Another $13 million went to the state health department for video campaigns, while fire survivors waited. While families in Altadena are still trying to put their lives back together, still trying to get housed, this is the hope gap and it's real. Where's it at? Southern California Edison is still in court, still fighting liability tied to the Eaton fire, still not accountable. Where's it at? 18 months later, Governor Newsom, where's it at? Because the truth is free, but the lie can be very expensive. And right now, fire survivors want to know what happened to No Strings Attached. And I've been saying on this mic for the past 18 months, somebody or somebodies didn't do their job. Now it's documented. Governor Newsom, listen closely. You didn't do your job. You didn't keep your promise. You held up the bill. Now stop holding up the money. You said no strings attached. Instead, you played on the people's heartstrings. Where's it at? See, Governor Newsom, even at the French Laundry, if it don't come out in the wash, it's sure enough gonna come out in the rinse, and the rinse cycle is here. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
Say it with your chest. Whatever touches your heart. Feed, fuel, fight for it. Flower, heal, hold. Help, have, honor it. Whatever touches your heart. Promise, hope, hell, and high water. Wade with it. Shield, protect. Keep it sacred. Whatever. Whatever. Ever what?
With your chest.
Whatever touches your heart. A future inevitable is hurt. Let it wind through you. Let it wind through you. Be fiercely undone. Brave and bellowing. Elbow, ankle, shoulder your way. Well, it is so. Whatever. Whatever it may be. Whatever it may be that fires the engine of your chest. Sprawls open your thoughts of you. Unminded and moved. Let it be. Let it be. Let it silly shame and show you out. Remember when before memory made you in the nameless nothing of now? Let light lead you into the darling darkness of not knowing, yet to know what it is to feel alive, living. Whatever it may be that touches your heart, whatever, that vibrating, hungry, heavy-handed heart, let it be luminous. Unleash the firefly eager to be held. Let it.
KBLA Talk 1580. I hate to interrupt the poem. Your voice is really dope. I love your voice.
Thank you.
That's from The Color of Rain?
Yeah.
Your new album.
Yep. Yeah. It's out in the world now, officially.
Yeah, it just dropped a little bit ago.
Yeah, right at the end of May.
So you're performing, you're touring, but you're a poet and a musician, and so you do albums.
Yeah, I'm learning that how to communicate the merging of the two, because it feels, for some people it feels separate, but for me, I think a lot of the poets that I loved and that I looked up to and admired all made records, so it's interesting to see that now it feels sort of strange for some folks that their brains can't wrap their head around it.
I mean, they weren't checking for Gil Scott-Heron or like my dad or I mean Allen Ginsberg for that matter. I mean all kinds of poets.
There were so many poets that made records and recited their poems on wax. So I feel like it's just about education, a lack of education, and reminding people that we have a rich, vibrant history and legacy and continuum that we're a part of. And so it's just that has been a lot of sharing my records is like teaching people about the other records that I come through or come from.
Right. I mean, I think poets have been using music since they were called bards, right? Since back in Shakespeare's day.
Yeah, it was verses. It's all cool. It was verses. It's like everything that we do with poetry is in relationship in some way to sound, to music. So if you think about the meter, the syllables, the beats, the counts of a line, where it breaks, rhythm, tone, all those things are musical and sonic cues. So I think people don't recognize that when they hear a poem or when they experience a poem, what's making the poem effective isn't just what's the content of what's being said, but it's how it's being shaped. I mean, that was what was so brilliant about your father, for those who are listening, Amiri Baraka, formerly known as Leroy Jones. I think so many poets that came through that generation, what he was trying to do was to remind Black people in our culture was that we had so much knowledge and information in how we created and what our craft inherently was, that like Western literary academic, institutions were not teaching. But if you think about someone like him or Ntozake Shange, or Sonia Sanchez, how they were approaching the page was totally informed by how they saw the music of what they were doing, so.
Yeah. Would you say you're more of a Beethoven or a John Coltrane?
Ooh, probably Coltrane, for sure. Yeah, for sure, Coltrane. It's funny you say that because I've been spending a lot of time with Coltrane's music and his wife's music as well, Alice Coltrane. And it's so beautiful to see that some of his songs, particularly in the Love Supreme, the Psalm, that he actually was transcribing his horn. So in the form of prayer. It's just to see the poetry in that, and like when you hear and you actually hear him playing, you can hear the words. That's like really
that's true.
Beautiful. It's like
that's wild,
profound.
Yeah, it's but also like you've been at the New Eurekan and Sarah Lawrence, so that means you've got that range of being able to move in sort of the Beethoven world or the formal world of training and rules in poetry, and also sort of the hip-hop edged community world, right?
Well, yeah, because I think regardless of whether or not, whatever you assume about what you want to be or what you know yourself to be, there's a culture where, culture is the air we breathe. It's the environment that we're bred in. And so regardless of whether or not I wanted to, like hip-hop was on the radio as a kid.
Right.
It's the things that I was, being immersed in, and it was what what we were all listening to. It wasn't until later that I started to learn more about jazz. Actually, later on in high school when I got into poetry, because all these poets were talking about these jazz cats, and I was like, who are they talking about, But yeah, I think like going to school, there was always this tension between like what is literary and then what is quote unquote spoken word or performance poetry.
Right.
And it was very racialized,
Yeah.
So someone like Sekou Sundiata really resented the term spoken word because he thought that what he was doing was poetry and that they were trying to diminish the value of Black poetry by calling it something else rather than just calling it poetry.
Yeah, and I can see that. I mean, and even, my mom, obviously a white poet, but she used to get a lot of grief for being too colloquial, which meant that it's somehow not fine art. But that was, which is bizarre because if you read her poetry, there's all these like mythology references.
No, it's super technical,
so intellectual, but also she was kind of
it's
street.
Just it's a
in
lack.
A weird way.
It's a lack of education about how we approach the language. So it's like people are not being trained in the full scope and spectrum of what we do, so they assume that because we speak to people in a way that they understand that it doesn't have intellectual weight or craftsmanship, and it's a craft. I mean, try to write a poem like a haiku, like Sonia Sanchez did, where she created her own haiku, soku. Try to write a 3-line poem with a limitation of syllables and still convey the depth that she did. That's very hard work,
Indeed
to make
it
it that simple.
Indeed it is. Aja Monet is my guest. She's a poet and much, much more. We've got news, traffic, and sports, and we'll continue on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The NYPD says more than 2,000 illegal guns have already been taken off the streets this year. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch.
Through the first 5 months of this year, New York City has seen the fewest murders, the fewest shooting incidents, and the fewest shooting victims in recorded history.
During a news conference on National Gun Violence Awareness Day, Commissioner Tisch credited this drop to strategic enforcement and precision policing. Senator Raphael Warnock says the Supreme Court has done violence to democracy, pointing to recent rulings on voting rights. He called those protections one of the nation's most urgent moral issues and emphasized the role of faith in shaping public life. And Lauryn Hill will be honored at the 2026 BET Awards. She is set to receive the inaugural Living Legend Icon Award, recognizing her lasting impact on music and culture, with the show airing live June 28th. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Make this summer one to remember at MGM Grand Las Vegas. Lounge by the pool, catch world-class entertainment, indulge in unforgettable dining, and experience the energy only MGM can deliver. Plan your Vegas escape today at MGMRewards.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
We're going to find out if the San Antonio Spurs are mentally tough. The atmosphere for Game 3 of the NBA Finals tonight inside Madison Square Garden and around New York City will be electric and intense. Knicks fans have been celebrating in the streets after the Knicks won the first 2 games in San Antonio. Are the Spurs and Victor Wembanyama up for this challenge? Only 5 teams in the history of the NBA playoffs have come back from an 0-2 deficit to win the title. The Spurs do have some confidence in New York. They were not blown out in the first 2 games. The Spurs had a 1-point lead with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter in Game 1 before the Knicks pulled away. In Game 2, Wembanyama missed a game-winning shot at the buzzer. The Spurs lost by 1. We'll see if the close outcomes in Games 1 and 2 have an impact on the Spurs tonight. 5 p.m. tip-off on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavish Smiley. It's high time that we say the quiet part out loud about what we consider a disgrace, an absolute disgrace to the people of South Los Angeles. Destination Crenshaw, or as I call it, Procrastination Crenshaw, was supposed to be a 1.3-mile celebration of Black Los Angeles. Pocket parks, commissioned art, a cultural corridor along Crenshaw Boulevard, stretching from our studios in Leimert Park down to Nipsey Hussle Square. It was set to complete in 2022. That's right, 2022. We are now in 2026, and the Crenshaw community is still waiting. A grand opening was announced for February 2024. That date passed with not a single artwork installed. Then we were promised that construction would be completed by the end of 2024. That date came and went. Our understanding is that as of last fall, the 8th Council District Office was still scrambling to raise additional monies just to restart the project, which has been paused again and again. But here's what makes my blood boil. City officials had the nerve to tell this community the delays are, quote, a necessary inconvenience, close quote. A necessary inconvenience? First of all, who are you talking to? Second, go tell that to the black business owners who have been coping with construction chaos, breathing dust, enduring years of road closures, and the scarcity of available parking, confronting unsanitary conditions, losing customers and revenue, all while the project they were promised still sits unfinished. They wouldn't let a project sit this long in any other part of this city. And for what it's worth, our elected official just happens to be the president of the LA City Council. Meanwhile, the city is laser focused on sprucing things up for the World Cup and the Olympics. Please, if this corridor were in Brentwood or Beverly Hills, it would have been completed on time, on budget, and on the cover of every magazine in town. The Crenshaw community deserves better. They deserve the truth, and they deserve what was promised to them. Now, right now. Not when it's convenient, not when the cameras are rolling for the Olympics. Now. This isn't incompetence. This is a pattern. And at some point, neglect becomes a decision. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
Aja Monet is here. She's a poet. She's a musician. She is a community organizer. Do we like that?
Yeah, that's good.
Community organizer.
Cultural worker, community
Cultural
organizer,
worker.
yeah.
Okay, so, I've been thinking a lot. You know my dad. You met him in real life. And he's known as, founder of the Black Arts Movement. And I've been feeling like we need a new Black Arts Movement. And whether it's activism, cultural work, or just being a plugged-in human being, I feel like artists have their work cut out for them right now.
Yeah.
How do you see that?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I mean, one of the things that Amir Baraka left us with, there was an essay that he wrote about the Angels of Ascent anthology towards the end of his life. And one of the things he was saying was that the Black Arts Movement came out of a necessity. And it never left, even though some other artists or some other people would like to think so. And so I think that that's part of our work, and part of what I see my work as in that lineage is that we are part of a continuum. And even if there it's our responsibility to educate one another and our young people about that history, so that they know where they come from and what lineage they're a part of, to feel a sense of agency and urgency around their own contributions to the culture and to our time. So I think there are many artists who see themselves in lineage of that, of the Black Arts Movement, particularly the Black radical tradition. And I think that it's never really left, but I think that there is an intentional effort to really organize a collectivism around that. Like, we need more social movements that are rooted in sort of like, okay, we're all doing this together. It's not a bunch of individuals that are siloed, but that we're actually, organizing around shared values and a bit of a honor system or an accountability system where we're responsible for each other, because it is hard right now. And I think it's easy to feel alone and isolated. But this is why you need community,
I mean, and one thing, that I know from having a lot of experience with poets is that y'all just are so independent from a lot of the sort of societal requirements. Sort of like you have to wear this, you have to go here, you have to think this, you have to market yourself. I mean, it's probably different now, branding, and everybody's a brand, and, people have managers, and this is good for your brand and that's not good for your brand. But there's an independence, that thing, that poets will tell the truth when no one else will.
Yeah.
Well,
I think if you're in alignment with what you're doing and like I said, the lineage and the things that you come from, because for me, like, I still have to face, like, Abiodun Oyewole, if the last poet's still alive, Angela Jackson, they're still alive. Some of these people, Sonia Sanchez is still alive.
Yeah.
So it isn't far removed from me. These are people that at some point I call or could call on the phone, and I know that they will be looking at what we're doing. They still care. They're still deeply involved and invested in the culture and where we are and where we're going, even though their hearts may break often from bearing witness, living long enough to bear witness to some of the things they fought for coming undone. So I think that, like, you can't, there's no way I can possibly take that for granted and not show up and rise to the occasion, because I still have to face these elders.
Right, the accountability of having elders. What do you do to feed your artist self?
Oh, I like to have fun, I like art. I just like enjoying art.
Yeah.
I think LA is one of the few cities that, that's what we were talking about this too, like being here, the good weather and the cultural aspect. I think being in a city where you're exposed to culture and the differences of cultures coming together. So going to museums, watching films, seeing people play at a club. I think those things feed me a lot, like being around other artists and being in community with artists is where I go to be replenished and nourished, because that's what keeps you grounded and keeps your, like, spiritual maintenance up, is just like, okay, these people are out here being sincere and creating from an authentic place and pushing my imagination into places maybe that I hadn't been before. And also I return to the greats often. I spend a lot of time with your mother's poetry now.
Wow.
So I think that it helps me when I feel really discouraged about this current state, that someone else lived and wrote through struggle and wrote through difficult times and created and continued so that we may be and exist.
You sound like her. I mean, she used to do that. It was always museums and jazz shows and movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you sound like her when you talk about that. Because she always said you can't just put out. You have to have input.
Yeah, you have to be pouring into yourself and others have to be able to pour into you. And then, just being with people, being around everyday ordinary, going to the grocery store, like, taking care. The other day I had to go into the post office and dealing with regular stuff. Sometimes it's just, you learn a lot, you just learn a lot about the human experience, the spectrum of humanity. And sometimes it's really frustrating because it exposes just the vulnerabilities of our system, like things that just aren't where they could be, like, dang, the healthcare system is still this way. Why isn't it better? Certain things you look at. The schools, I really think about the children a lot too. Young people are really a place where I try to put a lot of my energy, and I think about them often, and they can be very inspiring and grounding in reminding you of, like, get out of your head, get out of your rigid thoughts about how things need to be, because they still have this profound imagination that you don't want to stifle. You want to allow to grow, and pour into that as well.
Yeah. I see you're still a New Yorker, though, on some level. You got your Patrick Ewing shirt on. You're in here in your Knicks gear.
My vintage Knicks gear for the finals. Yeah. I still am a beloved New Yorker. it's just in you. You know, you were born and bred there. It's kind of the way the world. But I think I love the West Coast because I think there's a similar admiration for our teams and there's a pride.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you got to respect it.
We act like we know them. Like we know the Lakers. We know the Warriors. We know. Yeah.
But you guys have had a big running streak, so this is pretty big for us. You know, like the Knicks had. This is nostalgia for me. Like that's why I'm wearing the Ewing shirt, because I was a kid remembering seeing my parents and like everybody in the city watching like John Starks and Patrick Ewing and all of them play, and the hype and the energy of the city at that time. I mean, you were so proud to be a New Yorker. The rest of the so now it's kind of like I was saying with Mom Donnie and the state of the city and things feeling like the world feels grim, but the city feels like it's on one right now. So I'm just like, it's, you know, having any good news.
Yeah.
So sad that it's gotten to that point, but it does feel good to see people happy and proud and motivated to be together and, you know, celebrate together. And that energy is really exciting to bear witness to, even from afar, like seeing the city. Just New Yorkers are just one of a kind, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. That my sister told me they actually have big screen TVs out in the street, and people are just posted up on the street with chairs watching.
Yeah, it's just
spontaneously watching.
I think the thing I loved about growing up in New York that you started to see a little bit of in LA with the fires and stuff was just how communal we are.
Yeah,
you know, we're used to being around people, and so we don't feel no way. We know how to deal with people, you know. That's kind of the name of the game of a New Yorker. Like, you're a people person. You have to be, because you're going to run up against one or another.
Yeah, right.
Every
or
now
a bunch,
and then.
Yeah. Every time we have a big earthquake, you get that sense too. People are like, oh yeah, we are a community.
We got to figure it out.
We do. We always figure it out. Poet and musician Aja Monet is here. She's got a new project that just dropped. We'll find out where to get it, more about it. Maybe listen to a little bit more of it, hopefully, when we continue, only right here.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
Did you know that $60 billion are lost every year to Medicare fraud?
If someone has been a victim of healthcare fraud, the more we talk about that this occurs, older adults will feel more comfortable about sharing their experience.
It's not about someone not being smart enough or not paying enough attention. Falling victim to fraud can happen to anyone.
If I've been scammed, if I've experienced it, and I'm angry about it, and I want to do something about it, then I have an opportunity to volunteer and share with other people, here's what happened to me, but it doesn't have to happen to you.
Medicare fraud hurts people, it hurts Medicare, and we need your help to make a difference.
It's powerful to be able to address an issue like Medicare fraud, and being a volunteer for SMP gives you that power to do it.
If you have passion and dedication and want to be of service, we'd love to have you join our team.
For more information or to volunteer, visit californiasmp.org.
For communities impacted by the war on drugs, cannabis legalization was supposed to create opportunity, but too often people entered the industry without the information they needed to succeed. That's why the Los Angeles County Office of Cannabis Management, in partnership with Life Development University, is presenting the Cannabis Worker Voices Panel on June 13th at 3 p.m. at Life Development University, located at 4241 Crenshaw Boulevard. Hear directly from cannabis workers about their career journeys, day-to-day experiences, challenges, and opportunities. Learn about workforce pathways, transferable skills, and what working in the legal cannabis industry really looks like. Free public education designed to help you make informed decisions before investing your time, money, or energy. Register today at lacountycannabised.org or call 323-747-6728.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Knock, knock, Capital One Bank guy.
Wow, Charles Barkley?
I just moved into the neighborhood. Can I borrow some Wi-Fi?
Sure, Chuck. That's what the Capital One Cafe is here for, open 7 days a week.
Oh, can I use your ATM? My dog walker only takes cash.
Anything for a neighbor.
Can I try the catchphrase?
Sure, take it for a spin.
There's no fees and minimums on Capital One checking accounts.
Nice, Chuck. I'll take it from here. Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Visit CapitalOne.com/bankguide for details. Capital One and a member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, Ahmad supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development. Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's going on? You are tuned in to Elsewhere Radio, where we got all rhythm, no algorithm. And if you're ready to take flight into the great unknown, I've got something new just for you. So strap in and stay tuned for the best in surreal blues from Aja Monet. Somebodyness. When the street lights in your veins go on, and summer walking up and down the sidewalk of your grin, diamonds twinkling on the street, the thirst of our cool. On the shorelines of a smile, washing up against moon shuttle lit eyes, freeing impulses, whereas folk we lull, laughter in the face of death. The carnival of flowers sprouting from closed fists, earth skin, the perfume of stones kissing cuss words, the rhythm echoing reverb, riffing, where the garments of Jupiter genius sparkling of spaceships, scattered in desire, dressed in vibration, cooking on a stove skillet. Afro curl satellite levitate, sitting like a turban comb the skies heavenwards. Embrace the marvelous daydreams born in the forest of our refuge. We were born to be sun ray, radiant, falling upon the horizon newly each day, shining. Waywardness. Let's go.
Aja Monet.
Let's go.
You hear her voice, her poetry. The album, The Color of Rain, just dropped right now. When the Poems Do What They Do is still available. She's got a bunch of books. She's got a show coming up. You have a show coming up October 3rd here on the West Coast.
Yeah, it's officially going to be announced next week. But it's for people to know now would be great because it's going to be at the Ford Theater. And it's going to have an incredible lineup with along with myself headlining. So if everybody marks their calendars for October 3rd, that would be great.
And how do we keep up with all the things you're doing? get the albums, get the books and such?
Yeah, thank you. It's on my website. You can go to AjaMonet, AjaMonet.com. I'm on all the socials, on Instagram, on, all the things, Threads, with AjaMonet. And I think you can listen to the record as well on ajamonet.bandcamp.com. It's available also on all streaming platforms, but to get it directly, if you want to get the vinyl, the CD, and support the record as we're independent artists, that would be amazing. So, yeah, those are all the spaces you can get it at.
All right, we've got, Kwamel gave up. Oh, no, Kwamel, I was about to go to you right now. Well, maybe I'll have time to call us back real quick. He's a poet here. And I know he was asking in the chat about other poetry spots in New York besides the New Eurekan that they should know about. You mentioned St. Mark's.
Yeah, St. Mark's Church would be an incredible place. I think also the Bowery Poetry Club is no longer what it used to be, but they do still run some events. So you can go and look up Bowery Poetry online. I don't know, honestly. I haven't been in New York as like I used to, so the Schomburg is always still a great place to go find things and see events and programming.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Kwamel, you're on. Poet Kwamel, you're on with Poet Aja Monet. Good morning.
Yeah, it's like I didn't give up. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't give up. I got knocked off. I was like, wow. I thought you just weren't taking calls anymore. But I this way it was resonating with the words about activism and consciousness, and kind of keeping what those poets of those times were saying, and the musical tradition of those poets of back then, keeping it alive and tapping back in. Because I was reading something on the book face, Miss Aja Monet, which I was happy to have seen you on at the Getty Center, and when you popped up with Saul Williams at last year, that was a really, really dope show, both of them. But yeah, just there being a connection to the consciousness and kind of bringing it back, because you don't kind of see that coming out of a lot of the artists right now. So I'm just thinking about that as I'm making my record and
okay, Kwamel, you know where we are on the clock. You know where we are on the clock. So land for me if you would.
Yeah, that's all. That's
that
all.
was the landing. Okay, all right.
Thank you for your time. All right.
All right, thank you, Kwamel. Yeah, that's dope that folks are tracking you, and I see you've got a lot of different, the Ford. You've got different followers. Because poetry can be a tough job, right?
Yeah.
It's not the most lucrative business in the world.
No, and I think the important thing is for folks to know that I don't come to poetry for my living, While it's the main thing I do with my art and my poetry is to be able to continue to make enough money to pay the musicians, to be able to afford being a band leader, and also to continue to make records or make music and pay for studio time, etc., the visions and ideas. But in terms of my day job, I work a full-time day job with an organization called V-Day, which was started by formerly E. Vensler, but V, who wrote the Vagina Monologues over 25 years ago and created an organization to end violence against women and girls. And so I was brought on as the artistic creative director to create a new play that would center in our movement work to end violence against women and girls around Black women's stories across the diaspora and the continent. And so there's a play that we have, an audio play that we created called Voices, Sacred Sisterscape, and you can listen to that on all streaming platforms and experience it and host your own listening exhibition along with curated questions and events. So yeah, I say that to say that I still find a way to make meaning through that work because it's art and it's I don't have to choose between parts of myself. I still get to be an artist and a cultural worker, and those are all invited into the space in my job. But I feel really privileged that it's not the way I don't move in the world like, well, how am I going to get $1 out of this poem? It's not the way that I move in the world. And thankfully so, because I don't really trust most artists who don't have a day job. You know what I mean? Because it really it will seep into how you create.
It's a hard road, yeah. Well, Aja Monet, thank you so much for visiting with us, for spending the hour with us. And when you get ready to do a radio show, you know where to come.
Yeah, I would love to. I hope everybody continues to listen and support this radio station because it's so important for us to have.
Tavis Smiley is on right now. He's got a great Monday show for you. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The NYPD says more than 2,000 illegal guns have already been taken off the streets this year. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch.
Through the first 5 months of this year, New York City has seen the fewest murders, the fewest shooting incidents, and the fewest shooting victims in recorded history.
During a news conference on National Gun Violence Awareness Day, Commissioner Tisch credited this drop to strategic enforcement and precision policing. Senator